don't know the track very well.
Yeah, it's really long. It's a really long track, and it's pretty complicated. So I'll tell you what, just park up in the pits for me, and we'll just like talk about the track just for a moment before I send you out to do a bunch of laps, because you're right, this is it's a really tricky track. So can you see my screen?
Give me 1 second.
And just make sure you're out of your car, just so the engine turns off. Cool.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna jump on board with my own last lap there. I'm gonna hop out onto this view. Let me just angle it so we can actually see where we're going. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to basically run you through a lap and tell you what I'm doing and how I'm remembering what comes next and what kind of corners we've got, because you're right, half the battle with this track is actually remembering where on earth you're going. There's also a lot of compromises in terms of you could do one corner really fast, but then it'll negatively impact the next corner and so on and so forth. So I'll just tell you what my thought processes are through the lap. So, right, here we go. Let's go for it. So, turn one, obviously, it's very steep uphill braking, so you can get away with pretty late braking. I'm braking just before I get to this white line. So, like, you know, a couple of car lengths before that. And I'm trying to do most of my braking in a straight line, because going up the steepest part of the hill here, I can obviously scrub off the maximum amount of speed and brake as hard as possible without locking up. And I only really start to turn into the corner when I've got most of the speed off. So I've come down from 230k-ish, and then before I do this main turn, I've scrubbed off over 100 kilometers an hour. And then I'm basically fully off the brakes. Normally I'd trail a bit more, but I'm fully off the brakes with another tiny little adjustment on the brakes, just because it's so easy to lose the rear. You probably found when you're trying to get the car rotated, especially once the tyres get really hot and they're like overheating a bit at the rear, it's quite easy to lose the rear. So yeah, scrub off most of the speed and then just try and be accurate, obviously, with the curb. It's clearly quite a late apex. You know, I'm not facing, you can see normally you'd be facing kind of across this yellowy curb, but because it's so important to get a good exit down the hill, because there's a long fast bit coming up, you can see the angle is a bit more pointed downwards. Anyway, I won't dwell on all the corners this long, but right down the hill, do you know Silverstone? You know Silverstone Grand Prix layout. So these these next few corners are basically Maggotts and Beckett's at Silverstone. So I approach them in pretty much the same way. I almost drive them exactly the same. So I'll just ride on board and then I'll go from the outside view. I'm just going to turn this volume down, actually, because my poor fiancée in the room next to me trying to work can hear me shouting. It's because I've got the engine volume up loud, and you can't even hear the engine. So, so this right-hander, I try and really cut quite a lot just to shorten the distance. You don't get an off-track unless you go all four wheels off. So I just take a real nice short distance through there. It's obviously all full throttle now. So going up through the gears. I am in... Hang on, how can I even see? Oh, I can just look at the data. Yeah, I'm in fifth. And so I'll show you it in full speed and then I'll go back through it, because this is really one of the key parts of the track. So I'm full throttle, and then a lift, maybe a brake here. I'll check the data in a second. A brake for this one, but staying in the same gear. And then in the middle of this final long right-hander, I'm touching the brakes and going down a gear, trying not to run too wide. So it's really threading the needle through the first parts. So full throttle, lift, brake, and then back on the gas, and then a kind of brake and a downshift to keep it tight. So that's the way.
Third now.
Let me check. Let me just move the camera back so I can actually see the. See if I can see the gear number. Oh, it doesn't tell me on the screen. Huh. Interesting. It's on like a different page. I'll just look at the data instead. Let me just bring up my data, because I haven't looked at it since I ran that little first stint. sorry to keep you waiting. Here we go. So
No.
it's not that one, it's this one. Even though it's not my fastest, it's the one with the right setup. So we'll add that. Let's delete the one with the wrong setup because we don't want that. There we go. Okay, so gear I'm in is 5th all the way through. So I'm staying in 5th for the first one, and then I'm down to 4th halfway through the long right-hander that kind of ends the Maggots-Beckett's complex. And then I'm only down to 3rd, and then 2nd when I get to the really tight bit right near the end. So, but this is definitely the trickiest part of the track. I think it's the least obvious part because it's all these corners that flow into one another, and you really have to. You want to keep the speed up, but you need to. In fact, I was wondering whether I'm braking. I can literally just look at my pedals down here. So I'll just do it in slow mo so I can see. So yeah, very minor brake, and then a harder brake for the next one, and full throttle again. And then lifting off and a little brake in the middle just to try and get it turned. And then we've got this. It isn't over yet. We've got these next couple of lefts and rights, where again it's just accuracy. I've stayed in the same gear here, and then I go 3rd, 2nd through this uphill right. But you could get away with staying in 3rd. It's not the end of the world. And then obviously into the next left. Now you'll probably notice pretty much all of those curbs. My aim was to try and almost hit the yellow thing. So very, very close to the yellow block without hitting it. Because actually, if you look at the slope of the block, unless you're hitting the peak of the triangle, because they're like little pyramids, if you don't hit the peak, you can just nibble the edge of the yellow and it's still flat. So you've got a slight bit more margin than you might think at first. If I go a little bit closer, you see it's like that bit there you can touch. And if I go super slow-mo, I don't know whether I do touch any of these. That's basically exactly where I'm aiming to be. And if I just get to the next one in slightly less slow-mo.
Well, I wasn't anywhere near where I was aiming to be on any of them. So
Okay.
there you go.
It's much easier once the tyres are warm as well. That one I didn't make it, so that I've now already affected myself for the next corner, so that's not good, but it's not terrible. That one, pretty close. Relatively happy with that. But they're really good marker points. That one, not quite so close, but that's okay. You could probably get slightly closer to that. The way they've made that look like paint that's been taken away, that looks so realistic, that texture. Now as we come up to these next ones, it's the same thing again. It's really trying to get close to this. And you see I hit that one pretty hard, and it doesn't really negatively affect the car. It didn't even feel it. See, the car didn't even feel that. And, hang on, I'll go even slower. Oh, it didn't let me click. Let me try one more time. Yeah, you can see, you can really take the mickey with that. I went up the black section of it. It didn't affect the car at all. So, don't be afraid to get very, very near them. And here, there isn't one, is there? Is there one more? I think there's one more, isn't there?
Here.
There. And again, you can get very, very close to it. So that's the aim. If you can tie together yellow, 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 and you're never getting like wide of one and then even wider from the next one, you'll be really fast through that section.
Which is what I was doing.
Yeah, which is pretty normal, I'd say. So I know we're only like halfway through the lap, but I'll just skim through it. This little kink to the left that follows. So you basically got turn one. You know turn one. If you're trying to remember the track, turn one is pretty obvious. It's the really tight hairpin at the top of the hill. Then the next section is all these left, right, left, right, left, right. So it starts off with Maggots and Beckett's, and then you have a couple of, well, you've got a slowish right, a kink to the left, a very slow right, a kink to the left. So that's like the next bit. So turn one, you know, then Maggots and Beckett's, then slow right, kink left, slow right, kink left. Then you're into this section. So you can just easily drive across this curb, really, really cut that one. Take liberties with the distance. You'll just gain a meter or so, a couple of meters maybe, which is, you know, a couple of hundredths.
And then you end up off track because I've done it a couple of times.
Exactly. And then you've got another corner which is very similar profile to turn one, except without the benefit of an uphill braking zone. So the track, you can see the track widens in front of you. So if I go back a little further, actually, you can see how the track's a certain width, and then as you approach the corner, it widens to encourage people to go for overtaking moves up the inside. But the correct line is still to keep it as wide as possible for quite a long time. So you do your main part of your braking in a straight line, and then at the last moment you get it turned in, because even more important than turn 1, you've got an even longer straight coming up here. So you really need this kind of angle on the exit. You don't want to be flat against the curb and aiming out of the barriers over there as you come through here. And then obviously you need to be very, very careful getting on the gas, especially once the tyres are overheating, because any oversteer here is going to just destroy you down the straight here. So pretty simple straight. And then another corner which looks kind of similar to that last one, where it like opens out a bit in front of you, except this time it's downhill. So it's even, and you're coming at it from, you know, maximum speed, really, 245k. So you're arriving here even quicker than turn 1, and you've got no uphill braking zone. So same thing again. And I've obviously missed the apex there. Just give me a little bit of leeway, because this was just my second flying lap on this setup. But you obviously want to be on that curb if possible. It's just, it's not the end of the world if you don't make it, because next up we've got a pretty short straight, and then you've got these two like 90-degree right-handers. So I go down a gear and then stay in the same gear for both of these, just really trying to get the car rotated. You don't have to go all the way wide out here. In fact, I found it quicker to kind of go 2/3 of the way wide and get it rotated. And then you've got, it's never ending, the track. And then we've got this really tricky kind of 90-degree left. So this corner almost doesn't count.
It's really hard because there's so much steering input while you're trying to brake, and there's no marker that I easily found to where I should brake there.
Yeah.
And you've couple of times I did it, I was basically like off the track, not even close.
I'll play it in full speed and then we'll go back through in slow-mo and I'll tell you what I'm thinking. So, essentially, you've got some corners which are here to trick you into thinking you should do something different to what you should actually do. So, you've got a couple of very, very gentle left. So this one, which doesn't really count because it's just flowing from the previous corner. And this one, which, although it is a proper corner, you want to deliberately miss this curb, because if you're tight to that curb, you'll never be wide enough to actually get into the next corner. But having said that, you also don't want to go all the way wide. You know, normally we'd use the full width of the track in any given place. Here, if I go really high up, in fact, is Chopper a better view? What's a better view? That's probably a better view. You see how, like with other parts of the track, they've played with the width. So here, you've got a certain width, and then here the track goes massively wider. But if you were to go all the way wide there, you'd just be giving away so much distance. You'd be much, much slower. So you essentially treat the track as if it hasn't really widened, and you go the same, you just use the same line that you're on here. So you keep the same trajectory, because you've given yourself enough width to get the car turned in, a pretty straight braking zone then, because you can imagine if you were going really, really wide, you'd have to have a kind of kink back at the last moment. You just have to force the car to go over there, and then you just get it rotated. So basically, you've got to miss an apex, and you've got to not go all the way wide. So you've got to imagine the track is not quite the same shape as it really is here, and then you'll get rotated nicely into the next corner without giving away too much distance. And I'm also keeping the wheel as straight as possible here, because I'm trying to brake hard at this point. So it's all happening at the same time. It's really, really tough. This is, again, one of the worst parts of the track, one of the trickiest parts of the track, because you could easily do a completely different line to this and think it was right, but lose a bunch of lap time. So you have to deliberately miss the first apex so you can hit this apex. Basically, that's what I'm aiming to do. Nearly there, just a couple more really difficult corners to go. This one you can open all the way wide, because we've got loads and loads of downforce with warm tyres. This is basically full throttle. I'm going to look at my throttle trace, because I can't remember if I am full throttle. Let's see. Yeah, so I am full throttle. And there's actually a couple of different ways you could take this, and they have similar outcomes. But I find once the tyres are warm, you go for the second apex. So don't be tempted into hitting this first curb. Get near to it, so you kind of get closer and closer to it as you get round this section, but not really close. And then you really hit the second one. You see it's a bit more of a tight angle, this second one. It's more of like a 90-degree looking thing. So you just follow the first one round, use the second one. That then allows you to get near to the third one. And then you can just try and stay as close as possible here. And then we've got an early break for the penultimate corner. You can use more curve than that. In fact, this is deceptive. If you can manage to get on this yellow bit, even better, because it's not actually a raised curb. It feels like a raised curb as you approach it. I'm trying to find a better angle. There. It feels like a raised curb, but it's really not. And you don't get an off-track. If you cut this quite a lot, you don't get an off-track. I just find the hardest thing is to get the car there from with the speed you're going. So if you can manage it, use more curb than me. It's completely fine. And maybe on a subsequent lap I would have done if I'd have driven better. You can easily get an off-track here. And then I just try and be super neat for the last corner. A little bit like Brazil, the final proper corner at Brazil, Interlagos. You can use a bit of the runoff here and it doesn't penalise you. And you can really widen that last one. So there we go. Loads and loads and loads of corners to remember. I don't expect you to nail them all at once, but at least you've seen it now. At least you've seen me do it. So just let's go out and do, since it takes 3 laps really to get any proper tyre temperature in, let's do 6, 7 laps. See how you're feeling. If you feel like you've got a representative one in there that's kind of vaguely right, then we'll check back at the data. But I don't want to look at any data until you're happy you've done a pretty good lap. Otherwise, we'll waste time telling you stuff you know. And I'm going to sit back. I'm going to put it on mute and drink my cup of tea and watch.
Fair enough. Watch the mayhem.
Let's go. But yeah, I fully appreciate this is a very, very difficult track and very long with lots of different sections. So just remember the tyres are really slippery on the first lap. So just don't judge the car's behaviour based on the first or second lap. Like, there's no way you can take that long right-hander full throttle on the first 2 laps. But by lap 3, you can. Right, I'm going on mute.
I'm already sliding all over the place.
Yeah, honestly, first lap with these cold tyres, you'll really struggle to make most of these apexes. I just try and drive the car as fast as it wants to be driven on the first lap. When the tyres are cold, I just go, okay, if you're going to slide if I go quicker than this speed, so I'll just go slightly under that speed.
I can't see anything. I couldn't see my marker.
Oh, I see what you mean. As in, you can't see what's coming next. Yeah, yeah.
The track temperature's decreasing. It's now 28 Celsius.
Oh, is it the sun? Was the sun in your eyes?
Yeah.
Ah, got it. Right. You must have your brightness up higher than mine, because I can see fine. For cold tyres, that was a good effort through that long right-hander.
Nope.
It's the NASCAR line.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm drifting. I might as well stop. I don't remember where I am.
So you're at the first kink, then you've got another slow right and a second kink. I'm going to keep referring to them like that so you can remember. You're very accurate in those tight hairpins. Like, you turn one and that one were really good.
The Maggots Beckett's was terrible.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll get there. You'll nail it. That one wasn't quite as tidy.
I was on my... Sorry, he's talking to me. I was on the... I can't see the breaking point because the glare is so high there.
I wonder whether your graphics are up higher than mine. I wonder whether you've got higher settings and that's why it's not showing it to me. So you can turn in quite a bit earlier for that penultimate corner there. It's that one with the flat yellow curb I was talking about. Again, really good apex at turn one.
Uh-oh.
So that's the first tight right, first kink, and then second tight right, and then the second kink. What I mean by kink is it's like a fast exit. It's got a short apex. So you have like a long right-hand apex and then a short left-hand apex, where you kind of just kiss it. You have to like hug the right and then kiss the left on both of them, and then it starts to form more of a clear picture of exactly where you are on the track. I'm looking forward to the first day we learn the Nordschleife together.
Now this is the corner. I cannot see anything here.
Okay. Well, you made it that time. Actually, very well. Very good positioning through that section. You're absolutely perfect with the positioning through there. That was better. You can still turn in earlier, but that was better.
The guy behind has just done a 202.9.
Okay, so this time in the Maggots and Beckett's complex, really focus on hitting that first yellow apex, and then the next ones will flow. I say yellow, I mean orange. Is it yellow or orange? You're definitely closer to the second and third one there. So this is the first long right. It's okay, you saved it. First kink, then second long right. Yeah, your middle and end of Maggots and Beckett's actually very good. It was the first one you were a little bit wide of the mark. Again, very good in that apex of the slow corner. This is where you can't see where you're going.
No. I see basically screens of orange. Nope.
That's crazy. I can see completely clearly. I wonder what's different. I won't judge you too much on that particular corner at the moment. But if we can change your graphic settings so you can see that more clearly, you'll have an easier time in the races. Because we're in the exact same time of day as the races will be. So you can brake and turn earlier for this one. That's definitely more like it. You can carry a little bit more speed, actually, if you go even earlier in. Good effort, considering you couldn't see where you were going there at all.
No.
Still going quicker. So really try and go in early and hit this first yellow thing. That's better. Yeah, you actually turned away from it, but you've done it correctly. You kind of second guessed yourself because it was so early compared to what you normally do. I can see that you're going to perfect it though. Okay, so on those two long, slow rights, on the next lap, we need to go slower and cut more of the inside. So we'll really take a short line through there. Nice one that time. You absolutely nailed it into there. Again, really good positioning through there. So see if you can take this full throttle all the way through. Oh, beautiful into there. This should be much quicker, this lap.
Oh.
Oof.
The guy behind has just done a 201.5.
I'll let you just do a couple more and then you can have a rest and we'll look at that data. But we've definitely got something representative here now. So go slower and use more of the inside of that one you've just gone through. Same with this next one. So go a bit slower and cut more of it. Like really chop the inside off. We want to be all over that red paint next time.
I've got to find something I can use. 1, 2.
I'll tell you what my braking reference is once we finish this. Not that I'm not actually using a visual one, but I'll find a visual one that you can then copy if you want. Okay, I think maybe your rear tyres are overheating a bit. So that's all right. You can hop out there then. Let's go with that previous lap you just did. And I know you lost a few tenths just in the final corner. So just make sure you're out of the cockpit so the engine's off, and then it'll upload the data for me. And I'll grab your data.
See if I can find my cursor. Not pretty. Whoa.
Here we go. This one here. Right, brilliant. So I've already got some things we can talk about. Let me just turn off your previous one because you've gone much quicker than that now. I'm going to be blue. If I can click properly. That's purple. Let's make you red. There we go. Cool. Right, okay. So, as expected, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So as expected, I'm just going to glance at this, and then we'll go in a bit more detail in a moment. You're way closer than you were on your runs earlier on, so that's good.
That's easy too.
There's a much smaller gulf between what we're doing in the obvious sections. So you can see our two traces match pretty well all the way through the lap. In particular, turn 1, like you're only, by the time you get to the Maggots and Beckett section, you're only a tenth and a half down. So, and that's like, a sixth of the way into the lap. You're really good there in that low speed corner. But then really the most obvious place, if we just look at this graph, if we look at the speed trace, the only place where there's an obvious gulf, apart from the final corner where you suddenly lost, you went from 2.5, so you lost like 4/10 just on the exit of the final corner, so we can ignore that. So you would have done like almost a 2:01 dead. The only other place is that Maggots and Beckett's section. That's where there's clearly a difference here. That's kind of the big one. In fact, that whole section up to, including the tight corners afterwards. So that's really where there's the most time to be found, I reckon. Because on the approach to Maggots and Beckett's, you're a tenth and a half down. And by the time I don't know what it's really called, by the way, in this COTA. And by the time we leave that whole section, you're over a second further back. So there's a second in that one part alone. So that's where I think we should start looking. So let's just literally look at the video first, because that'll make it most obvious. So we know turn 1's fine. You know what to do there. That's also fine. Where it starts to be obvious there's a difference is when we turn into here. So on this lap, on your best lap, you began really well. You turned in here, and I was thinking, great, we're on a perfect trajectory.
And I backed out of it.
And then you backed out of it. And if we look at your steering itself, if we go on board, I go on slow-mo, you see you're turning in, and you go, oh, no, actually, that's a bit too close. And then when you go back towards it, I think we miss it by quite a long way. So you were probably right the first time, basically. So just force it to hit that. If you hit that big yellow thing, and it launches you in the air, at least we know we've gone a bit too far in that direction. But I haven't had that happen yet. So just try and be slightly closer to that. And then obviously, same with the next one. What you're doing, even on your best lap, is making this complex tighter corners than they actually are. You're artificially increasing how tight they are. So we can make it more of a straight line if you're closer to each of those curbs. That's all. So you're just giving yourself less track to work with. That one's pretty significant. And you'd think, by being slightly wide here, you'd be forced to be closer to that one. But you somehow managed to go wide and still miss it. So, and then this one, same thing again. You're giving away quite a lot, and that really does force you to go slower through those apexes than you need to. So that's an easy fix, really. As driving adjustments go, get closer to the big yellow thing is an easy thing. I'll look at exactly what you're doing with the pedals as well. So we'll just exit that. Yeah, so before we move on to the long right-hander, little kink, long right-hander, little kink, let's just look at the data of those Maggots and Beckett sections. So I'll just zoom in just on that. So it goes to here. So you are doing a nice little break in pretty much the right place. So that's really good. The main thing is you're lifting off a little bit early. Interesting. And then you get on the power in the middle. That's fine. And then you get on the power very, very gently. It's interesting how squared off my throttle trace is. If you ignore the little blips in the middle, like the kind of maintenance throttle just to keep the speed up, the lifting off and getting back on is very definite. And that's because I know I've got so much downforce through here, I don't need to be particularly smooth with the throttle. By doing this big immediate lift in conjunction with a little bit of braking, because you're also lifting and doing a bit of braking, but you're doing more lifting and more braking, whereas I'm doing a sudden lift and a little brake. You're doing a gradual lift, and that gradual lift is probably not putting as much weight on the nose and maybe not allowing it to suddenly turn. I want it to turn now. It's quite a sharp left, right, like that. So you can stay on the gas longer. So you start lifting at 1208, and I'm lifting at... So you can stay on the gas like 25 meters longer, which I appreciate. That's a very short period of time when you're traveling that quick. But just a bit later. So we're both lifting between the first and the second corner of Maggots and Beckett's, but I'm just lifting a bit closer to the second one. But yeah, so aside from that, and you're also getting back on the power very gradually, but that's potentially because you're forced to, because of the tight line that you're causing for yourself. But definitely the first one, you can just stay on the power longer, lift more suddenly, definitely hit each of those yellow, or nearly hit the yellow things. Aside from that though, what's happening here? Oh, now we're into the first of the long right-handers. So when I'm saying, long right and then little kink, in the long right-hander, there is quite a big difference in what we're doing on the throttle. And this is quite telling. Okay, so you're staying kind of mid-throttle all the way into that long right-hander. So you're giving it some gas and then coming off when you're quite deep in, when you know you're running a bit wide. And if you look at the lines we're taking on the track positioning, look how much deeper you've gone in that second one. So whereas I'm forcing it to stay on the curb, I really want it to be tight on top of that curb to give me a lovely line into the kink section, so I can really carry speed through there. So what we want to change for this one is, instead of kind of carrying the throttle all the way in there, lift off to force the car to turn earlier. So you see I've gone on a little bit and then boom, off again to really force it to turn. And I don't get back on the gas again until the point where you're actually starting to come off. So I get back on the gas there because the car is already nice and tight, so I can afford to. Basically, in terms of video, if I just run your video through, at this point here where you get on the gas a bit early and it throws you wide, I want to be like really all over this inside curb here for a bit longer, just using a bit more of it and coming off the corner here rather than all the way out here. And that just opens up the next one a bit more easily. So it's obvious when you look at it like that, but you can see why it's happening, because you're on the power at exactly the point where I'm off the power. When you look at our speed lines, you're going slower on the way through on the entry to that corner, so it should be easier to get round. Because you get on the gas, you're then going faster right at the point you want to be going slower, if that makes sense. So you're going too slow on the entry and then too fast in the end, essentially. So there we go. That's another easy fix. So magnets and beckets closer to each of the yellow blocks. Carry speed for longer. Be more definite in when you come off the gas in conjunction with the turn, and it'll go where you tell it to better. And then our final kink, where are we? That's this little bit here. So the final long right and little kink. You're not doing anything badly in terms of the speed is actually quite good on the way in, but then you go very, very wide in the middle. You're doing exactly the same as me with the trail braking. Look at our braking. We're doing it exactly the same time here to here. Very, very little difference in how we're braking. So what is the difference? The difference is you're going deeper right here. Why is that? Why are you going deeper? Because you're going slower, so it shouldn't be forcing you deeper. You're just not using as much steering angle. Okay, that's interesting. I'm just literally turning more. I've got 10 degrees more steering angle on.
I think part of it is I'm not really aware of what's coming next. Like I don't know it well enough yet to know, okay, next I have this. And so my steering angle should be here, you know what I'm saying?
You can see it actually, because like you say, because you're not aware that you need to be fully on the right because there's a left-hander coming up. You're just letting it go deep. Like here, you're not on the limit. You could be on this curb if you wanted to be on this curb, but you're just choosing not to be because you're kind of like hedging your bets about what's coming next. That's all that is. So your speed is actually really good into this final of the two long rights. You just need to, when you come off of this corner, aim for this curb and cut across it. In fact, if I just have a look at what I did, I just want to see just how much I'm doing that. So are we there yet? This one, I'm just like really forcing the car to get on top of it to really open up this one, because then it makes that one really nice and easy because I'm coming from all the way over here, whereas I think as a comparison you're just in the middle a little bit more, so it just makes it a bit harder.
I feel like I'm in the middle everywhere on this track because I don't really understand what my next expectation is. I just don't know it well enough, and it's hard. I don't know, like I did 10 laps yesterday, like I said, and I felt like after 10 laps on another track, I have a general idea of, okay, I remember what's coming up. This track, 10 laps, and I still don't know what's coming up.
You've basically got an extra 30 seconds of track here compared to most tracks. I mean, it's that much longer. So it is going to take a bit longer to get your head around. I've also found this, you're not alone. This is one of the harder tracks I've found to learn. I just forced myself to learn it because of that NASCAR thing. So what you can see is because of that line you've taken where you've got a bit deeper, you've had to have this big lift. So you actually have managed to get the car back over to the right in time. So you've done a good job in getting there ready for the left. But to do that, you had to have a big old lift of the throttle, and you lost a few tenths because of it. So anyway, we can definitely easily fix that. Is it worth looking at the second half of the lap, or should we just go straight and try and fix that? Because you'll probably have forgotten everything we've talked about there.
Let's fix the first part.
Yeah, you're closer in the second half of the lap anyway. So let's just focus on that little complex. So yeah, final just brief run through, just as a refresher. You're fine through turn 1, fine through turn 2. Get it close to that first yellow pyramid. Carry more speed. This is where you want to lift and do a little brake, not back here. So just a little bit later, and you should be more straight. You see how you're approaching this one from quite far left? You can approach it a bit straighter. You've got the downforce that you can tell the car to do what you want a bit more than in some other corners because you're traveling quickly. So approach that from a shallower angle, cut straight across that curb rather than turning back towards it like you're having to do here. That'll then mean you won't be at this angle coming through here. You'll be kind of straight facing the final left, where you've gone right, left, right, left. And then same again. Get close to that. Once you've finished that, so that's Maglets and Beckett's done, left, right, left. Then you've got right, left, long right, short left, long right, short left. Just go a little bit faster on the entry, a little bit slower on the exit. Instead of trying to drive off the corner fast, like you are on this one, which is pushing you deep, drive off the corner very, very tight and over this inside curb. That then opens you up for the first of the kinks. Again, use more curb. Sorry, I didn't mean to fast forward it. Again, that means you can use more curb here and carry loads of speed. And then the final long right and short kink, use a bunch more curb, go slow at the final part. Exactly the same technique as the one we just spoke about the previous corner. That'll mean you come off the corner tight and you can launch through this one very, very close to the yellow curb. That's it. In a nutshell.
Just do it.
Yeah, let's go. And again, don't worry about lap 1 or 2. Try and get near it, but you don't have to worry about actually doing it perfectly on the first couple because the car doesn't want to, just because the tyres are so cold. Let's do it.
Nope.
You hit that last apex though.
It's 1 in every 20. A little too fast into there.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that extreme on warm front tyres, but yeah, your front right tyre is just really cold at the end of lap 1. So even with the cold tyres, you can still try now and get really close to those apexes through here. That's closer. I think you're trying to go for them a bit late. That one was good. That last one was good. And then slow at the end of this part. That's definitely better. That's definitely better. And same with this next long right. Try and get all over the curb and be slow at the end of the corner. The car will feel different. Not well, I mean, you were over the curb for sure.
Sorry about that.
No.
I feel a little retarded on this course, I have to say.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine. You were just, you know, you're attempting to do a thing whilst the tyres are still quite cold that it'll do much more easily when it's all hot.
The sun went down a little, and so it's easier for me to see that.
Okay, good.
Nope. I don't remember that exactly.
Yeah, the penultimate corner is really, really tricky. It's pretty fast, but just not super fast. That's the one with the flat yellow curb that you can really use. That's better. Oh, yeah, that's it. That's much better. Much better. Didn't quite get the third one, but the first two were perfect. So slow towards the end of this corner. And then remember, this next one as well, slow towards the end. Be really, really tight to the inside.
I got a penalty, by the way.
Okay, right. Let's see where you got the penalty for. I'm just going back to have a look. Where did we get the penalty? Where the hell did you get the penalty?
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
I can't see anywhere where you went off track. Oh, yeah. Was it just an off track or like a slowdown?
Slowdown.
Oh, right. Maybe it was through turn 2. You used quite a lot of curb through turn 2. Maggots and Beckett's, you were great though. You definitely didn't get it through there. Let me just remove the penalty anyway. That was more like it. I know you still got an off track on the exit, but the line was really good. We're just slightly too fast on the apex speed, but really good last 2 corners.
Better.
That's much more like it there. At the end of that last one there, that's really good. Okay, so that section that looked the nicest I've seen you do it. There's still areas for improvement, but that was the best I've seen you do it. You know how to drive hairpins, so we don't really need to talk too much about the hairpins. We'll still look at the data just to see if there's any area we can get a little bit of time, but...
Oh, a little late. Sorry.
It's alright. Very nice apex. That was really good through that long right. Yes. Perfect through there that time. Absolutely spot on. Okay, so the second part of that lap was really good.
The guy behind has just done a 201.4.
Oh. Fuck.
That's okay. You can still do maggots and Beckett's. Just do it maybe like 2 more times, and then we'll look back at the video and the data, because you're doing all of this way different to how you're doing it before.
Nope.
I'm just watching your replays over and over, so if I'm not talking, it's just because I'm reviewing what you've just done. Yeah, through the long rights and the little kink left, you're much better now. So we just need to really get in the habit of being on the right line through maggots and Beckett's now.
Too early.
Okay, you've really nailed that corner now. Like, you know how to do it now, that penultimate corner. So certain sections of the lap, you pretty much put to bed now. You just bank them, you know how to do them. We'll just nail the first part.
That was too early.
So even if you hit the yellow pyramid this time, just get as close to it as you can. Yeah, the long rights and the kinks to the left, you're so much better now. Maggots and Beckett's, we've still definitely got time. In fact, I'd go as far as to say you were the furthest away from those apexes that you've been on any lap on this one. I think you were like a foot wider on this lap. It doesn't look as bad from the cockpit. When you're on the cockpit view, it looks like you're closer. Okay, let's do it one more time. I'm going to give you one more chance to hit all 3. Sorry, I'm distracting you by talking.
Nope.
Nice apex there. Okay, right, last one, and then we'll review.
Okay, see if I can do a little better.
I'd rather see you actually jump off the yellow pyramids than miss them this time. First two are pretty close. Well, that was really good that time. Really, really good line through that section.
Nope.
Yeah, just need to be slightly more careful in that penultimate corner. That's the only thing. It's very, very easy to do what you just did there and go wide. Okay, cool. Well, since you're nearly at the first few corners, do you want to just do it one more time and then we'll part? Like, I mean, just through those corners? No, that's fine. No, that's all right. No, it's all right. We'll just leave it there. I'm going to look at that laps data anyway. So if you just hop out of the car. Let's have a look. See if I can find that. So I think one of the key things that I'm noticing is you're like naturally you're kind of like shying away from those curbs. Like you don't want to get near them in case you hit them. But I think you're just further away than you think you are. That's all. So let's have a look at that last one. I think it's this one, unless it's run 4. Let me just see, what was your lap on the... Yeah, that's right. It is this one. Oh, you let me click. There we go. Cool. So let's make that bright green so we can see the difference. Okay, yeah, definitely. You've definitely improved through that, or certainly through some of it. You've improved. On that lap, you were better through the first part, through the first bit of maggots. We're still doing quite an early, gentle lift off the throttle. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's just obviously like your driving style. I'm going to get a slightly earlier lap as well. I just want to see whether you're doing anything different on an earlier one. So in that same run, let's go for like... Cause I know this is a slow lap in general, but that's because we spun somewhere else. So I'm just going to take the lap you did before. We'll make that another colour as well. So let's make that one like pink. So you can see the difference. You want to see something funny? You know, you had an off. This is the one where you reversed back. Look how much later you braked on that lap.
Yeah.
You braked. You came off the throttle. So that's 6.3. Oof, like 60 meters later.
I couldn't see the... I was looking for this, you know, the brake markers.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Okay, so looking at these, I'm just trying to make sure I tell you the right info before I let's turn off me and let's just put you versus your best from that second run. So you can definitely see the green line is above the red line early on, but then for whatever reason, maybe because you've gone in so quick and you're having to back off, or you're worried about the speed you're doing, you're actually a bit slower in the second part of it. Oh, that's around the long right actually. So Maggots and Beckett's, yeah, the left, right, left. No, you are better through there now. You are carrying more speed for sure. But then on this particular lap, you were slower through the long right. Maybe you're trying so hard to hold it tight to the right. I'm just looking at the delta to see whether it's... Because although the speed is lower, you're also going a much shorter distance, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's a slower way of doing it. So you are at this point here, you're 354 away, and okay, and then at this part here. Okay, yeah, so there is still time that we can find through there. I'm going to just delete. I wanted to just have enough of your laps to make sure that you weren't just doing something different on one particular lap, but you're quite consistent. All of your laps
consistently bad through that.
Well, you're using the same technique for sure. So I can see if I was to turn your ones all the same color and put my one blue, you can see how similar your lines are. Yeah. They all follow quite a similar pattern, which is slightly too slow into the first part of Maggots, and then occasionally a little bit too quick then into the left-hand part, which is interesting. Okay, and right, okay, so this is now telling. This is more like it. Right, I can actually read into what's going on here. So part of the reason you're struggling to hit that third apex of the three, so if we just look at the lap, so I'll bring the lap up at the same time so we can see, you can see what we're comparing against. So that was good. First part, I'm happy with that. Good, don't change it. But what changes is, right here, right at this point here, when you go between the second and the third of the apexes, you have this here, this green spike. Let me just delete the other laps because we don't need them at the moment. So I'll get rid of this one. We'll get rid of this one. So we'll just keep the green one there. So you see this big green spike of throttle, where you go to 92% throttle. You're doing the same speed as me right now. We're both doing 200k. Yeah, you're doing 199, I'm doing 200. Yet you are then going to 92% throttle, which completely screws you for this left. And that's why you can't make that left. That's what's happening. So you're actually trying too hard through there. And you see on the speed lines, that 92% in throttle goes in conjunction with this section up here where my cursor is, where you can see your speed is higher. You're now 10k higher than me going into that left. And that's why you're then wide, and that's what's causing you to be slower in the next bit here. That's literally why. So if you keep the first bits the same, give or take, you could probably lift a little bit later. But on that lap, on your quickest lap, look, you did do the big severe lift off. You can see that quite clearly. Your green line drops way more suddenly than it did on other laps. So that's good. It's just a bit too early. So that's okay. That's easily fixed. Your line through the first part of Maggots here was good. So here to here, maybe slightly late turning in still. I think you can go shallower than that. I actually don't think you need to even open it up onto this green bit here. I think you can just be on the track and just turn earlier. I'll check mine in a minute just as a reference, but that's fine though. You see how you're really going wide here to sweep back to this one. I mean, you make the apex absolutely fine. So you could be very slightly closer, but I just reckon you can get away with a straighter line from here to here and a slightly straighter line from here to here. But regardless, you're not doing badly there at all. The thing that's screwing you up is here to here. Yeah, I can hear it now. It's really obvious now I've seen the data. You go full throttle nearly here, or 92% throttle here, and that's what pushes you wide here. And then you have to really slow down for this. You're like deeper than you mean to be. That there alone is some tenths. How many tenths are we looking? So at this point here, when we're level on speed going through the second, we've just gone through the second apex, you're 6 tenths behind. And then when we get to here, yeah, so by the time you get into that long right, we're already nearly 9 tenths behind. So we've lost some just from here to here. Like that's quite a big difference, and that's purely from actually you trying to go faster. So essentially, long story short, for the third of the 3 apexes in Maggots and Beckett's, apex, 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 when you go from the second to the third apex, just don't get on the gas as hard. Just let the car get to the left like you want it to. Let it flow from here. Just if you're going to use any gas, just a little bit, but then lift quite early to get all the way up to here. That will then feed you into the next bit much more easily. So we know what's going on through Maggots and Beckett's. Let's just cover the sweepy bits that follow it. So long right. Here we go. It's all the way to here. This is definitely better. The only part that you're now offset, you know, like where you're going quick when I'm going slow. The only bit where that's overlapping and it's wrong is the bit well, actually, no, it isn't the bit we just spoke about. It's just towards the end of the first long right, but it's only a little bit now. You're not like 20k different. Because you're going a bit slower through the entry to the right, because of what we just spoke about, you're a bit tighter, and that's just causing you to then go deep on the exit. I think if you fix the third part of Maggots Beckett's, this won't be an issue. You'll just be fed into this corner on a more nice line. But after that, the next kink, which is here, your apex speed at the kink is only 4k slower than mine, so that's fine. That's you're slowing down at the right point. And then looks like you can get away with quicker throttle application, but it's not bad. And then again, going into the next long right. How are we doing here? Okay, we're over slowing it because you've gone a bit deep. Okay, so let's just watch the video and see how that looks. So we're talking about this section coming up. Okay, right, so you can see what's happened here. Going through the kink, you turn and then you turn away. Because you didn't get as far wide as you wanted, you do this, you turn in, and then you turn away from the corner. And in fact, that'll be really obvious when we go on board. Let's go slow-mo here. So we're approaching this corner. You can't quite see it very well. So you turn in now and you go, oh no, that was too early. You turn right away from the corner and then you turn again. But when you turn this second time, it's now a little bit too late and we just wander past the apex. That's all. And is it too late or is it just not enough lock? Let's have a look. So we're talking about just hit. No, your lock's fine. You're actually using even more lock than me. Yeah, here you can see on the steering trace. You turn in here. And then you turn away, and then you turn back. And actually, your first application of steering was nearly perfect. You were like 4 or 5 meters earlier than I did, but then you ended up, walking yourself away from it. That's all that was. This is just practice. You're just going to have to get the muscle memory of exactly where to turn because you can't see the corner very clearly, as we just said. When you're here, back here, it is hard to see what's coming up. The little orange raised bit is your only clue, really. And then as we go into the next bit, sorry, I know I'm taking ages with this. Let's just go into the next. So around the long right, yeah, you went a bit deep as we said, and then through the kink, it's fine. You're actually quite good through the kink. The one thing I noticed though is down this next straight. So if I just fast forward. So yeah, there. Okay, that's where the time went. We had a big oversteer moment actually. Yeah, that was just because you were trying to go a little bit too quick. Just here, you see all the lock you've got on, trying to get back to the inside. Lost the rear, but that's fine. It's this bit coming up. You see where we're just miles wide of that.
That's just a memory thing. I
exactly.
just don't remember.
I know you wouldn't be out here if you knew what corner that was, because why would you be? You would just cut that. So this is purely just a case. You're just going to have to do enough laps of this track that you know for sure what's coming next and you have a really accurate shape of the corners in your mind. Because at the moment, there's definitely like a half guess of, not all of them, some of the corners you're absolutely nailing. And I'll skim through to the end of this lap in just a sec. But, because actually me and my other half's going to the gym and she's taking me to pick my car up from service in about 4 minutes. So I will have to go in a minute. But that first section, you've definitely done an approximately good version of it. You just haven't nailed it all on one lap. I think you just need to keep doing it until it becomes more of a flow. Yeah, so that one, obviously, once you've done the long right, the kink, the long right, the kink, the next one is this flat out left. Just cut that off. You're good at these hairpins typically, so I don't think you really need to focus on them. On this lap, it didn't go perfectly, but generally you're good at the hairpins.
Yeah.
And you know how they should be. This one's just about visibility. So, oh yeah, we didn't give you a reference point for braking. Let's see how it goes on this one. That was actually perfect. So where do you brake here?
At the 100, but it's just hard to see it.
I can't even see it. Oh yeah, 150. Okay, if the 100's hard to see, these white lines on the track correspond to 150 and 100. So just there, basically. Just use the second of the white lines. That is where the 100 board is level with. And you get that stopped really nicely. So yeah, there's only 3 white lines, so go for the second one. And then this section I was really pleased with. So you're going exactly the same distance out as me through there. You're missing that one deliberately. And getting a pretty decent apex there as well. I think you're good through this section. And is this the lap you absolutely nailed this at full throttle? You missed the first apex. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, you can even go tight there because you've got so much downforce and grips. That's good. That was just a bit too fast through there. Yeah. So that your turning point's right. You just didn't brake enough on that lap. I bet if we look at the data, you're miles faster than me. Yeah. Oh my god. This is you through there. You're going 30k faster than me nearly. So yeah, and you brake later. So you braked later and carried loads more speed through the middle. There's no wonder you went really wide there. So, so yeah, just tidy up those. Oh, you're also a gear higher. So if you go down an extra gear, that might prompt you to go a bit slower. You're going in the correct gear for the speed you're doing. It's just the wrong speed. But yeah, when you look at all these slow corners, there's not a big gap apart from that one where you went way too fast. All the slow corners, you're pretty much the same as me. It's definitely not where most of the time is. The time is, when you look at this now, Maggots and Beckett's is much closer. We're then just slower in the long, slow corners with the kinks. So if we can fix those, that's great. And then, and one of them, fixing the end of Maggots and Beckett's will fix the first of those 2 kinks. That one will flow into the next one, and that will all be much better. So, yeah, sorry, we've run out of time.
No,
it's a long track. It just takes ages to go through this one. But
I appreciate the help.
no, it's always a pleasure. Sorry, go on.
I know you have to go, but as far as the scheduling goes for our next,
let me bring that up. Oh, that's not the right website. That is a different website with a C logo. Calendly. I'm on the wrong profile.
We can also do it by email. You've got
That's all right. No, I've got it here. I've got it here. Right. So next one I've got here is Friday, 29th of March. Is that right, or is that one that you couldn't do? I've got 4 till 5 p.m. UK time Friday this week.
Friday is the one I couldn't do because I had a doctor's appointment.
Right. I've either not rescheduled it or I saw what date you asked for and I couldn't do that date.
So I said, well, I can do. I think our communication was like, I can do anything that next week, Sunday through Friday. But then you said, look, we're already scheduled on. I can't remember. I don't have the right calendar.
That's all right. No, I'm just looking.
All...
So we're scheduled on Saturday, 6th of April. So, yeah, I just have such an awkward calendar. So this week, basically, there's no day other than Friday that I've got. So next week then is the 1st of April. So 1st of April, I could do the 1st of April actually. I could do 1st of April. I could do I could do 1st of April. I could do 5th of April. We're already in for the 6th. That's all. So if you didn't mind doing 2 in the same week, but one on the Monday, one on the Saturday, then we could do. we could do Monday 1st of April. Maybe that's what I should move this one, the earlier one to. Where is it? I should move this one. Okay, I'll do that right now.
What time?
What time we got it in for the moment? We got it in at 4 till 5 p.m. UK time. That's 1 hour later than we did today, but I can do any time.
You want to do the same time that we did today?
Yeah, so that is.
I have to pick my wife up
UK
from the
time.
airport on Monday afternoon, so it'll be easier
Monday,
if I do it an hour.
1st of April. Monday, 1st of April, 3 p.m. UK time. There we go. Scheduling that now. All done. The system's really nice actually for this. It works really well. Cool, that's done. Thanks, Robert. Good luck for the races this week. I'm going to have to shoot.
Yeah, I'll let you run off. Thanks for your help, and I'll see you in a little bit.
Have a lovely rest of your day. I'm going to stop recording. I'll upload this